Hey everybody, Chris Americos here, and I'm just going to shoot this quick video about the duties and responsibilities of an online teacher. Now, a lot of people know what a teacher in general should be doing, right? You should be a mentor. You should be setting an example for the students. You should be presenting information in a logical, clear, concise way so that it's easy to understand. We should be checking on their comprehension of the information that's presented. And there's a lot of features and ideas of what we should be doing. At some level, we should be friendly so that we can make the students open to receiving information from us, right? We should make some kind of bond, be almost like a peer, but at the same time, be the leader of the classroom or of the learning space. And we should also make sure that we maintain some level of authority so that what we're saying doesn't just go past them, but they understand that a person with experience and a person with know-how is the person teaching them this information, right? So they take it more seriously than they would if just someone from the street or one of their best friends told them the same information. So when it comes to being an online teacher, it's a lot different from being an offline teacher. And there's really three major ways that I see that an online teacher differs from an offline teacher, and an online teacher needs to take note of these things in order to make sure that they have success in the online teaching space. So the first one of these aspects of being a good online teacher versus offline is about presentation of information. So right now, for example, you're watching this video on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere else, maybe my website, and the information that's being presented is only going to be presented in two ways, right? You might see something on the screen, like you might see this window and city behind me, or there might be subtitles written on the bottom, right? Or there might be some kind of slideshow or presentation that comes up on the screen, and you might see my face at the same time or not. So we're limited to some specific delivery methods to give the information to someone that's not physically with us. Typically, if we have a physical classroom, we're going to present this information through books, worksheets, whiteboards, and things like that. And then we can also include all of the internet and technology ways of presenting this information too. But what a lot of people do, and I'm guilty of this also, is kind of taking the offline way of delivering information and then just moving it online or trying to do it the same way online. Specifically, I struggle with moving away from using a whiteboard. To me, as an offline teacher, whiteboards were just something that it was my go-to medium of information delivery. I felt like I could really explain things using a whiteboard, using a marker, and it helped me to put my ideas out there in an organized way. But unfortunately, when we go online, we have to make sure that if we do use a whiteboard, we're using it in a way that's visible to everyone. And a lot of screens are very small. Some students might be studying from their phones, not from a computer screen. And even computer screens vary in size. So we have to take that into consideration. And it can't be the fault of the student for having a small screen, right? It just has to be clearly written and presented. And that's why whiteboards have some minuses, some weaknesses as a method of delivering this information visually, right? So another thing that we need to think about when we're an online teacher is that when we're teaching offline, students typically have contact with multiple people in our educational organization. They meet administrators, they meet academic advisors, and maybe faculty heads. And so there's a lot of different characters, a lot of different people who might be involved in the process of taking lessons, of joining classes, and giving feedback about their performance and their progress. So when we move to the online space, this is a little different, because typically we're going to be the central person as a teacher or instructor. Will be the central person that they deal with. So we really represent the organization behind us. So we become the face of the organization. And you've probably seen this before, where in the offline space, a student asks some kind of administrative question that you may or may not know the answer to. And you can easily say, oh, well, just ask the administrator. Maybe the administrator is right outside the door. Maybe they have an office that's not far away. Maybe it's been explained very clearly before any lessons or any instruction take place, how that stuff is handled. So, all of those payment questions, scheduling questions, they're typically handled by someone else. The teacher doesn't have to deal with those things. But in the online space, those things are handled less and less by someone else. And those questions come up more often when we're dealing with students in an online classroom, because they themselves might not see the separation between these things. They might say, well, you're the teacher, so you should probably know all these questions, know the answers to these questions, and they'll come to you. And maybe that's a good thing in some situations, especially if you're an independent teacher. Then they might see you as the source of all of that information, and that's why they have to ask you. But on the other hand, if you're working in a rather large organization, like a university that moved online, or a big company that is employing you to teach online for them, then you might not know all the answers to those questions, or you might not even be the right person to ask, right? They should direct those questions to someone else. And in those cases, you have to be ready with the correct answer or a good answer about why you're not the person, and know where to direct them, right? And know what to say to appropriately direct them to someone else, and explain what your role is so that you don't lose the authority that you carry as the instructor by saying that you don't know the answers to these questions, right? You need to refocus them and say, okay, well, those are questions that are typically asked outside of this classroom. And in today's lesson, we're not focusing on those things. And if you have more questions after the lesson, maybe I can even help you find those answers. But right now, let's focus on the content, the material that we came here to study, right? So the third thing that is really difficult for online teachers, and this is probably the first and biggest thing that people think about when they move from offline to online, is working with technology, developing technical skills. And a lot of teachers miss this part. They just jump into online and they think, well, I'm a good offline teacher, and they think I'm just a good teacher in general. So when I move online, all that technical stuff shouldn't matter. It should be set up for me. It should be easy for me. And I shouldn't have to do lots of training about it. I shouldn't have to worry about it at all, really. But that's a big mistake, because knowing that technology behind how you're going to deliver the information of your lesson or your course, it's a huge part of how students will receive this information. So if you're struggling to launch your lesson, if you're using a platform like Zoom or Google Meets or something like that, then if you're struggling to even launch the lesson, the meeting, then it's going to reflect poorly not only on you, but on the whole organization. Why aren't you trained well enough? So it's really important to take the time in the very beginning to test those things out multiple times, to go through and practice launching meetings, practice presenting information, practice sharing your screen, and all of the functions that you're going to be using during your period of presenting to your students. And it's something that you should never overlook. In fact, you should continually be trying to improve how capable you are at using the technology that you have to use to work where you're working or how you're working. If we overlook this, then it just looks lazy on our part. So there's really no excuse. The worst thing that a teacher can say when they go into a lesson, when they start a lesson, not even just teachers, professors, instructors of all kinds, even just consultants or experts of any kind, when you first start a meeting or a lesson and you say, oh, sorry, I'm new to this. Oh, sorry, I don't really know how this program works. It's my first time using this program. That's the worst thing that you can say when you first start teaching someone, right? Like from the very beginning, you're saying, oh, I'm not prepared at all. It's not about the material that you're going to present that you need to be prepared for. You need to be prepared to use the platform. You need to be prepared to use the technology that you have to use. And it's not like it's a surprise that someone just gave it to you 2 seconds ago and now you're presenting to all these people. It rarely happens like that. Usually you know days in advance, and you're able to use the account that you have to go in and to experiment and to really find out how it works. So this is one of the biggest things that is, it's a responsibility, it's a duty of an online teacher to figure that out before starting the lesson. So I hope this video has been helpful for you and you found something useful in it. If you did, go ahead and press like, press subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And make sure you tune into this channel for more videos about online teaching and about working independently as an online teacher. And if you want to learn more about how you can get started or grow your own online teaching business, go over to my website, teachingrevolution.com, and find out more. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.